Keep Washington Working insulates criminal actors when they commit crimes in our community. It elevates their rights over those of an actual citizen here.
Well, a Washington state law tying the hands of law enforcement and prosecutors. In 2019, the state legislature passed the Keep Washington Working Act. It prevents law enforcement from using any state, county, or city law enforcement for civil immigration enforcement. Spokane County Sheriff John Knowles says families are not getting justice in crimes involving undocumented immigrants. There is a gray area with the Keep Washington Working Act that is leaving victims' families without closure. As Nonstop Local KHQ's John Webb reports tonight, Washington prosecutors get these cases to trial.
The sheriff says the Keep Washington Working Act prevents local jails and prosecutors from promising to transfer the undocumented immigrant into federal custody after trial. It's causing a lot of frustrations for local prosecutors and the victims who just want some sort of justice.
We have victims in this community who may not ever receive justice because this person is being held in federal custody, and rightly so. They shouldn't be here. But why can't we get accountability and closure for these victims?
The Keep Washington Working Act states law enforcement cannot enforce or assist in the investigation that targets Washington residents solely on the basis of immigration or citizenship status.
And they're being held in federal facilities, and they cannot give them back to Spokane County to be tried for these serious crimes, because because our jail and our courts cannot promise that after their case is adjudicated that we will return them to the custody of ICE, because the Keep Washington Working Act prevents the jail and the prosecutor's office from giving that person or promising to give that person back.
I sat down with Spokane County prosecuting attorney Preston McCollum. He echoed the sheriff's message. McCollum recalled a recent case where officers arrested an undocumented immigrant for a violent crime.
At which point he took out what we believe is a box cutter, and he sliced this into the victim from the top of his neck to the bottom of his lower back, right down his spinal column. It's one of the more violent stabbings and slashings that I've seen.
The suspect reportedly posted a $20,000 bond. He was later picked up by ICE and deported. McCollum not able to bring this man to trial, and the victim left frightened with no justice.
It's extremely frustrating because, again, this is not something that should be occurring. You know, my take on this is that, as written, Keep Washington Working insulates criminal actors when they commit crimes in our community. It elevates their rights over those of an actual citizen here.
For some, it leaves the victim scared of when the suspect might strike again, although it is more difficult to re-enter the country as it stands today.
And when you talk to those families, you just see what that lack of closure does to them. It tears them up, it eats them up, because you never have finality. You know what happened to your loved one, you know what happened to that person that was victimized, but you're never able to hold them accountable.
And when we speak of law enforcement, it's not just the people within, it's the data they collect, including the data captured on these tiny cameras you'll find all across Washington state. Problem is, a recent report by the University of Washington finds that several federal agents have accessed these flock cameras. They're funded by local law enforcement agencies to try and track down criminals.
What we have is the evidence that the systems were searched hundreds and thousands of times by U.S. Border Patrol, including in agencies that have since said they didn't know that their systems were being used.
At the time of the University of Washington study, data was pulled by federal agents from at least 19 different agencies. There have been at least 10 cases within Washington state where agencies did not permit federal agent access. The report found Border Patrol searched through them anyway. But Sheriff John Knowles believes federal agencies have not entered his database.
If you go in and you're going to search for a license plate or do anything inside these systems, you actually have to type in the reason for your search. And so
you would know then.
We would know.
You're actively searching through your databases and you have not found any access point.
No.
Still, no one is saying whether or not this is a violation of the Keep Washington Working Act, including the Washington Attorney's General Office.
They told me, quote, "We are still learning more about these reported incidents. We generally do not speculate on potential violations of the law or whether or not we are investigating such claims," end quote. It's important to note the University of Washington did not reach out to Flock before publishing its findings. Flock told us in part, quote, "Had this group reached out for information, we would have been happy to provide data to clear up the many mischaracterizations and factual errors that appear throughout this report," end quote.
It doesn't matter if it's rape of a child, if it's murder.
Prosecutors and law enforcement say there are serious flaws with this law and encourage lawmakers to visit with the people who are impacted directly. And McCollum says the people most vulnerable are feeling it the most.
There's a lot of folks that are looking at this and saying, hey, that's not what I voted for. I didn't realize that was happening.
I also reached out to one of the sponsors of the Keep Washington Working Act who pointed blame at the Trump administration for the lack of justice. She said in part, quote, "The violent slashing that occurred is truly horrific. The person responsible must be held accountable. But that can't happen now because of what ICE has done and continues to do in communities across the country." You can read her entire statement up on our website. That's nonstoplocal.com. I'm John Webb.